Dante wrote, "The path to paradise begins in hell." Join Deacon Don Prendergast and David Fortin as they discuss the tools men need to build the domestic church and the spiritual weapons to defend it. This is Through the Fire.
We're back.
Hey, you got something you want to read again?
Yes, I do. So here's the thing. The difficulties that we experience in our life, we're talking about Palm Sunday and we're talking about Jesus being welcomed into Jerusalem as the hero, the Messiah, the new king, and the palm branches and the laying of the cloaks on the road before him. And when you go to Mass, you're going to be hearing the Passion narrative. And this is kind of a whole drama that ultimately leads to the resurrection. But the story behind this drama is something that, we have to recognize that being Catholic is a way of life. And every bit of the liturgy that we encounter is an opportunity for us to learn how to live this life in society, how to live it every single day. It's unfortunate because I see people that do this. They see going to Mass on Sunday and the liturgy and everything else. They simply see it as a checklist. It's like, yeah, I'm a good Catholic because I went to Mass. Well, were you paying attention? Can you give me something? Is there a takeaway that you're going to carry with you during the week? And unfortunately, there's a lot of people that are like, what? What do you mean? But that's exactly what we're supposed to do. That's the whole idea about being fed. The whole idea about being fed is that, the Eucharist concretizes within that experience the life of Christ. You pay attention to the readings. Hopefully it's a halfway decent homily where the homily is going to explain, here's what you just heard. Here's how you can apply it in your life. Now I'm going to challenge you to look deep. I'm going to challenge you to look deep and find where in your particular life this needs to come forth. So hopefully you get a halfway decent homily. And then, of course, you receive the Eucharist, which is food for the soul. And that's supposed to bring your soul to life. I mean, it energizes you. It's supposed to wake you up supernaturally. And then you leave. And when you walk out the doors, man, that's when the work really begins. Being a Catholic is not something that you're involved with for only 1 hour once a week.
You as a deacon, you declare it. Go and...
Yeah, go forth. Absolutely right. The deacon is the one that does the dismissal. And there's a bunch of different options that I can use. Probably the one that I use more often than not is I would say the Mass is ended, go forth, announcing the gospel, that's one. Or the Mass is ended, go in peace, glorifying the Lord by your life. And that's really what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to glorify God by how we live outside of that building. We come to church to plug back in, to be fed, to be given instructions, to have an encounter with Christ. That's why we're there, to be in community and communion, not only with the people around us, but with church triumphant, all the angels and saints in heaven. That's the whole point.
How much do we need that, Deacon, when the world is turned against us?
Oh, my goodness. Oh, absolutely. I mean, because it is so easy. Like we said in the first half of the show, it's so easy to get beaten down, to be put in a box. You stay here, sit down, shut up, do as you're told, go along with the crowd, keep your head down, don't make any waves. Who are you to say this? Who are you to say that? It's so easy to fall into that trap. And it's very difficult to inspire people to realize we are living this life for so much more than the 100 years that we have here. If we have 100 years, we are living this life for so much more than that. We're living this life which will set us up for how we live eternity. And so what I wanted to do, Dave, is I got this really cool book. It was published by the USCCB. When was it published? It was published in 2009. And the title of this book is Pope Benedict XVI, Following Christ, Spiritual Thoughts Series. And in here, So now what I want to do is I want to start to move the conversation a little bit towards the spiritual warfare that all of us are called to engage in. Remember, being Catholic is not a spectator sport. Being Catholic is a way of life. And the biggest part of living as a Catholic is understanding that we are under siege by the dark forces, right? If you're a Star Wars buff, the dark side. We're under siege, okay? The devil wants to destroy us. No question about it. So, there's a supernatural battle going on. And we need to understand that we are the prize. Our soul is the prize. Will the devil gain our soul? Because we've become so hopeless, we've become so lost that we have decided, I'm done with God. That's what the devil wants. And it's easy, it's easy to see how that can happen, especially in the world that we're living in today, where in so many parts of society, God has been removed. And there is a political push. There is clearly a political push to destroy virtue and to replace it with making vice normal, making vice acceptable, making vice encouraged, celebrated. I mean, you just got to look at all the TV shows and the music and the award shows and all that stuff, and the various performances that we see. So anyway, I want to get back to this. So here we go. This is something that Pope Benedict, this was a little snippet of his homily at the first anniversary of the passing of Pope St. John Paul II. And this is what Pope Benedict said in his homily. In life's difficulties, it is especially the quality of the faith of each one of us that is tried and tested. Its firmness, its purity, its consistency with life. I think he's got something there, man. I think he's got something there. It should not be a surprise if we're tested. It should not be a surprise if these moments of dryness, like Dave, like you had mentioned in before the break, Mother Teresa spent years wondering, is God still watching her? Does Jesus still have his hand on her shoulder? Because she felt the dryness of the prayer life.
Did she ever say how she made it through that such a long period of time?
I don't recall hearing anything about that. But I'm reminded of a movie that I would encourage everybody to watch. And it was a movie that was produced by Masterpiece Theater by the BBC. And it came out a bunch of years ago. The name of the movie is God on Trial. God on Trial. It's a fantastic movie. It's a mature movie because there is brief nudity in it and there's a lot of profanity in it. But I would say the brief nudity and the profanity make it more real for what you're being drawn into. So the movie takes place in Auschwitz, in one of the housings, one of the I'm not sure what they're called, like the bunkhouse or the buildings that everybody is living in.
Yeah.
And so, inside this building are all these men. And in the beginning of the movie, you have the scene where the train arrived in the yard and offloaded a bunch of men. And so now you have a bunch of men that were brought into this building, brought into this very long cabin, kind of very, very rustic and dirty and filthy and cold. And so you have all these men that were brought in, and they were not supposed to come when they did. Everybody knows this. All the prisoners there, all the men that are there, they all know that this batch was not supposed to arrive when they did because a selection was going to take place and a bunch of them were going to go to the gas chamber, and normally the next batch would come in after that was done. And so one of the first conversations has to do with the new guys should sit on the floor and wait for a bunk to be available because they haven't done the selection yet, and it would be wrong for the guys that are potentially going to be sent to the gas chamber to now also lose their bed on this particular night. I mean, it's shocking.
Wow.
Okay, as you can imagine, the conversation in this movie goes through, and all these men. You've got rabbis, you've got college professors, you have business leaders of the Jewish community, and they're all there. And they start having a conversation and they ask each other the question, has God abandoned the covenant with Israel? I mean, here they are in Auschwitz, and they're thinking to themselves, we're the chosen people. How could this possibly happen? We follow the Torah, we follow the commandments. How could this possibly happen? I mean, it's a powerful movie, and it fits perfectly with everything that we're talking about. So they start to talk about, has God broken the covenant with Israel? And they decide that they're going to put God on trial. They're going to form a rabbinical tribunal, and they're going to put God on trial. And they have the people with the knowledge and the understanding, and they know what they're doing. They know what they're talking about. And the rest of the movie goes through this trial, this ongoing conversation and debate. And, there's no spoiler here. There's no way that I could give justice to what you would actually witness if you watch this movie and allow yourself to be drawn into the moment. So I'm not, spoiling anything, but you're watching the back and forth, and they're debating the question. And this is, Dave, this is what we're talking about. Mother Teresa for years was wondering, did God abandon her? Did God, I'm doing all this work, but I don't feel the presence. In history of the Catholic Church, we have, this understanding, the dark night of the soul, St. John of the Cross. This idea that, you come into the faith and you're feeling all this joy and this love and everything is great. And then it's gone. It's gone.
Not quite. And you go from definite high of consolation, but maybe not quite to the desolation.
Well, no, not that. I'm talking about that euphoria, the euphoria that I'm on top of the world.
Right.
That euphoria that you feel like everything is great. It's me and Jesus, baby. I'm on top of the world. That euphoria disappears. It's not that Jesus has ever abandoned anybody, but that euphoria disappears. And that's what Mother Teresa was experiencing. And that's what St. John of the Cross was experiencing with the dark night of the soul.
St. Teresa of Avila, a lot of saints.
Yeah, a lot of it. Yes. But here's the thing, and this applies to everything that we're talking about, even in an ordinary way, because Jesus does not want you to fall in love with the benefits. He wants you to fall in love with him.
Yeah.
And so he allows the euphoria to be stripped away. Now, who does the stripping? Hey, man, that's the devil doing the stripping. But he allows it.
I had said earlier about how I had learned so much about myself in that confessional. Well, my penance for that confession was to sit and meditate on Jesus, I trust in you.
Well, there you go.
I know what you're saying right now.
Yeah, but that's the whole point of the divine mercy. The whole point of the divine mercy is when you're feeling your lowest, don't break away from me. When it feels as though the world is collapsing on top of you, stay true to everything that we've talked about. This is what Pope Benedict was talking about in his homily for John Paul II. You're going to be tried. You're going to be persecuted. Jesus came into Jerusalem as the hero, and in only a couple of days, he was the villain.
Right.
This is going to happen. Don't let it be a surprise. Just understand that you're not alone. You're not being abandoned. And so, it's important for us to understand. So with regards to this movie, so you go through this whole drama, and then and then what happens at the end is, and again, this is not a spoiler. You go through the whole drama of this movie where they're wondering, has God broken his covenant with the people? Did he abandon us? And at the very, very end of the movie, there's another conversation. And in that conversation, they determined that God did break the covenant. And so one of the prisoners turns to the other, because now the soldiers, the guards, the camp guards came in, and now they're doing the selection, and you're listening as they're calling out the names and the numbers and whatnot. They're doing the selection. And everybody knows, the people that are going to be chosen, those are the ones that are going to be going to the gas chamber. And there's this one character, he starts to, in panic almost, he's like, crying. And he says, we found God guilty. We found him guilty. Now what? Now what do we do? We found him guilty. Now what do we do? And one of the most beautiful lines in the movie. It was actually one of the characters who was prosecuting God. He turns to this individual and he says to him, "Now we pray. Now we pray."
Wow.
And there is never a time, never ever a time when things are so desperate, so destructive in our lives. There is never ever a time when Jesus is not going to hear our prayers. There is never a time when Jesus is not going to be by our side, to be within us, to be with us, to be around us. And so it's important for us to understand how absolutely crucial it is that there are going to be moments when we're on top of the world and we're filled with that euphoria. Man, everything is great. And then there are going to be times where you feel like you're standing by yourself and there's no one around you. But that's not a time to lose hope. That's a time to draw closer and to pray. So, Dave, one of the things that I had wanted to do also is take a little break from what we're talking about here. And I wanted to take this opportunity and say thank you. I wanted to say thank you to those of you, and you know who you are, those of you who have supported through the fire, both financially and more importantly with your prayers. You know, we're hoping to grow this. We want to grow this. We want to be able to bring this conversation to others, bring this conversation to men everywhere and the women that love them. And so your support, both financially and spiritually, are absolutely essential. And so I just wanted to say thank you for those of you that have supported us and those of you that want to support us financially. If you go to our website, castingthe.net, there's a couple of QR codes that you can scan with your phone and make an offering, as well as there's a spot there where you can send us an email and give us your thoughts and your prayers, and we'll make sure to keep them within our daily prayer routine and keep them close to our hearts. So again, thank you very much for everyone who has been supporting through the fire, and we ask that if you're able to, please continue to support us. So thank you again. So Dave, getting back to what we were talking about, it's absolutely essential that no matter how difficult things get, that even if we think God has abandoned us, even if it feels like it, he hasn't. He absolutely hasn't.
Now, Divine Mercy is coming up in a couple of weeks. Divine Mercy Sunday is coming up.
Yeah.
And it's to me, that is probably one of the most important devotions we can have out there, because God tells us, Jesus says, no matter what, trust in me. Trust.
Yeah.
And I know it's been hard, but my conversion story is truly one of to Jesus through Mary. And I'm just so glad that Divine Mercy is coming up in a couple of weeks. It's a...
Dave, that actually, I'm glad you mentioned that, because there's another element here that I wanted to touch on, and that has to do with the Blessed Mother. Because a lot of us guys, we never really had a great relationship with our moms. Some of us did. Some of us had fantastic relationships with our moms. But there are those that haven't. I myself, I never had a very good relationship with my mother. And because I never had a very good relationship with my mother, it made it difficult for me to understand how to have a relationship with the Blessed Mother. I always thought, I've always believed in the blessed, the Virgin Mother, always believed in all that stuff, what the Catechism teaches, Immaculate Conception, never had a problem with that. What I did have a problem with for a very, very long time was feeling as though it was worth, and I hate to say this, but it's true, feeling as though it was worth my time and attention to turn to her. Ain't that horrible?
You're a rotten person. No.
Yeah, I mean, now I look back.
Hey,
but
we all have our backstories. But for me, it was Mary that brought me back to the Catholic Church. It was the Rosary.
Oh, I'm sure it was Mary that brought me to the diaconate. I'm just a stupid person where I didn't even notice it. And I I didn't know how to have a relationship with the Blessed Mother. I'm sure. I'm absolutely confident, especially now because I absolutely understand the value and the necessity to have a relationship with the Blessed Mother, especially in my case, because I did not have a good relationship with my mother.
Same here. And
yeah. So
being born on October 13th has that.
Oh, you're special.
I am special.
You're special. But that's great. I tell you, in my case, what I would say for the guys that maybe are in my situation or what I was, where didn't really understand the value of having a relationship with the Blessed Mother, didn't really understand how to have one, I would just simply say, I would say to you guys, and for the ladies, because some of the ladies, I'm sure, that listen to our show, they don't have a great relationship with the Blessed Mother. So for those of you, and hopefully, we're in the minority, hopefully many, many, many more have a fantastic relationship with the Blessed Mother. But for those of us in the minority, perhaps, what I would say to you is, because I would also bet, not only do you have not a very good relationship with the Blessed Mother, you also don't see the value of praying the rosary, because that's how I experienced it. Because the rosary is the entire gospel story through the eyes of Mary. That's basically what you're doing. You're praying the rosary, you're praying through the eyes of Mary, and you're praying the gospel story of her son Jesus.
That's a really good point, Deacon, because where was Mary right there alongside of Jesus when he was going into the city?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I
mean,
for the most part,
that she saw them
of course,
praise and worshiping the Messiah, but she knew that her heart was going to be pierced.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Because you got to figure, the disciples, it's not like Jesus came into the city by himself. He came into the city with his entourage, and of course, Mom was with him. But I would say to those of you who don't have that relationship, what I would say to you is please, 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 just start praying the rosary. Pray it every day. If you can't pray it every day, pray it every week. Just start praying the rosary, and I guarantee you, over time, it'll all change. I guarantee it, because that's exactly what happened to me. Over time, it took time. I was ordained a deacon, and I still didn't have a great relationship with the Blessed Mother. It took time. It took time. And now I absolutely see the value in turning to her. I mean, because she's the ultimate mom. She is the ultimate mom. Just think about when you're feeling like crud, and you're a little kid, and either you did or you wish you could turn to either mom or auntie or whoever to get that loving embrace where you can crawl into her lap and the world disappears and you're wrapped in her arms and everything now is safe and feels okay, and it gives you time to breathe. It allows you to breathe.
Well, Deacon, when I find myself in times of trouble, Mother Mary comes to me.
I knew you were going to do that.
Speaking words of wisdom.
Words of wisdom.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Let it be. Let it be. Just let it be. All right. Just let it be.
Yep.
But it's true. It's true, isn't it?
It is.
It's true.
It is.
It's true. So the last thing that I wanted to talk about, the last thing I think we should talk about is going back to the conversation of spiritual warfare. Yes. When you're getting crushed, when Jesus was getting crushed, it is the devil that is doing the crushing. But we must remember it is God who is allowing it. So when we're feeling like we're being crushed, when we're feeling like we're being betrayed, when we're feeling that emptiness and that dark night of the soul, when we're feeling that loss, when we're feeling defeated, or I use the expression, when we're feeling like the wind is out of our sail, it is the devil doing the crushing, but it is also God who is allowing it. And so now we have to ask the question, why? Why is God allowing the devil to beat me up? And what I come back to over and over again is a teaching from Father Chad Ripperger. I mean, you've heard me talk about him before, and if we're going to talk about the movements of the devil, then we have to go to our exorcist, Father Chad Ripperger. He's also a theologian. He's an amazing writer, very, very detailed and deep writings. He's profoundly connected to the teachings of St. Thomas Aquinas. You also have Father Dan Rehill, which, Dave, we got to get him on the show. We got to try to get him on the show.
Yeah, he's very, very busy. I have tried.
He's busy.
Yeah,
maybe we got to go knock on his door.
He's down in Tennessee. We'll ask our friends at St. Rose Radio, see if they can help us out.
Yeah, because because this is the topic this is where it would be great to have an exorcist to talk about this. It would be great to have, and if anybody wants to send an email to the radio station over there in Tennessee, this is the topic that we really need to talk about. Because what I've learned from listening to these amazing men, these amazing priests, what I've learned is that it is the devil that's beating us up. It's God that's allowing it. But the reason why he's allowing it is so that we can grow in virtue. Because no athlete wins the race without going through a ridiculously brutal training camp. No athlete is going to get the gold medal without years of training. And so when we go through these trials and tribulations that God allows, that the devil is inflicting on us, we need to start thinking about that from the perspective of training camp. And we need to think about it and use our virtues, use our spiritual weapons to engage in this battle so that we can come out triumphantly. All the saints went through this, every one of them. Padre Pio was known to be physically thrown around his room at night, physically in battle with the devil. But the prize will be eternal life, sainthood, because that's what we want more than anything else. We want to be saints.
That's something for us to seriously think about, Deacon. Deacon, we got to leave it there. Don't forget to check out Deacon Don Prendergast on Facebook at Through the Fire. You want to check him out on YouTube, go to Through the Fire with Deacon Don Prendergast, Rumble at Deacon Don, and you can always check both of us out at www.castingthe.net. Go there and check out the Through the Fire page, and please leave a question that you'd like for us to answer.
Yes, and also, Dave, if I can jump in here.
Yep.
Whatever radio station you're hearing this show on, let the radio station know what you think. Send an email and share the program with other people.
That is our show for this week. Until next weekend, for Deacon Don Prendergast, I'm David Fortin. Looking forward to seeing you next week.
The preceding program was the Spirit of Truth Radio Arts original program for CastingThe.net.